Namaste, Jai Bharat. Separatism in any form can be accepted. Separatism in any form cannot be accepted for a nation like that of Bharat, which is existing on an epistemology of the Vedopanishadic system of coexistence. So, separatism in any form becomes repugnant to the Vedopanishadic epistemology of coexistence of the multiple and the plural. So, but then there are all kinds of separatisms all over the world, and such reflections also reflect in our society. Today, I will speak about a kind of separatism which I would like to term as the Anti-Brahministic separatism found in some parts of this nation. Some parts. One is Tamil Nadu, which is actually based on a Dravidian movement, which had its roots in Periyar. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, who is popularly called as Periyar. And there are a lot of these Dravidia identity supporters. But to speak about it, let's really be serious about the concept of Dravid. Is it that they treat the concept of Dravid or Dravidia as a racial thing? And that is where the epistemological mistake lies. They treat it as a racial identity, whereas it is a geographical identity. Now, these two things are two different things. Something is a geographical identity and something else is a racial identity. And once this thing is a geographical identity, the case of Dravid is actually a geographical identity. Unlike the concept of Aryan, which is a qualitative identity. They are two different things. But both are not racial identities. In any case, I don't think we have such racial concepts in the nation of Bharat. So the moment is that Dravid actually refers to an area, and in fact anybody who may come from that area could be termed Dravid. Fine. But then the politically took a turn, and it is given it's been given an impression that it's something akin to race, but they are not explicitly saying it's race, but then they treat it functionally, they treat it as a racial concept, and then keeping it as a postulate. See, they don't explicitly say it as a race, but then they treat the concept as racial, and keeping that as a postulate, they speak against Brahminism, anti-Brahminism. And see, by Brahminism, they are actually dumping the entire Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition into one basket. And a result of this attitude at once amounts to an alienation for anyone who assumes himself as a Dravidian by whatever kind of identity he believes. So it's a kind of alienation. The moment you treat the entire Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition is Brahmanical, and you speak against the Brahminism, and you promote anti-Brahminism, then you're alienating yourselves from your own Sanskriti. And that is immediate repercussion and reaction and result to an attitude of that nature, which is obviously in capital letters repugnant. Now, all the political movements in most of the political movements in Tamil Nadu is taken after that. They speak of a Dravidian identity, and they have more than one political parties based on this Dravidian kind of identity, and then they speak about. Then comes all other kind of differences. They say the Hindi speaking lot, the Brahmins, and the northern belt, etc., etc. These things comes. Now, these all are separatisms, some kind of separatism. Then in another place, in another area in south only, now these are two places where you find anti-Brahministic movement very, very explicit. A second is the next adjacent state to Tamil Nadu is Kerala, where that of course is not, there is no Dravidian movement there, but then there are these so-called communists who are supposed to be Marxists. Then there are varieties of Marxism, and there are varieties of Marxists who all claim to be real Marxists, like the Muslims of multiple sects of Muslims. Each one claim themselves to be the most near perfect. They will call perfect, but let me be realistic. Most near perfect Muslim. Similarly, these variety schools of Marxism, they all claim to be the perfect Marxist. So multiple people. So let me call them in common as the communists. They're all otherwise communists, supposed to be. So they they are very very interesting characters. They in Kerala society, they try to translate the Marxian class distinction as the caste distinction, and they where in place of bourgeoisie they put the hapless Brahmins. You unlike Tamil Nadu Brahmins, the Iyengars, the Kerala Brahmins, the Nambudhiris, they are a very helpless lot. They are not powerful in any way. In all kinds of approach and understanding, they are not very powerful people. And all whatever accusations you leveled against the Nambudhiri Brahmins are actually the atrocities done by others who had taken benefits of being supportive to the Brahmins, and they do it, and the name really goes to the Nambudhiri Brahmins. And as I understand, they hardly involve in the kind of activities which they are supposed to have done as per the narratives. Now, the communists, they have brought out a concept, and they use it in elections or things like that, wherever they want. They brought out a concept of Brahmanical or Brahmanical hegemony. The hegemony is something which is very conveniently borrowed from Antonio Gramsci and his theory of hegemony. Of course, you find this theory of hegemony in his book called Quaderni in Italian, which is translated into English as Prison Notes. The book is translated into English as Prison Notes because Gramsci wrote the Prison Notes, originally Quaderni, when he was in prison. Of course, he was in prison for a considerable period of time. And something about this Prison Notes is that he doesn't write anything so explicitly. He uses disguises because he was afraid of the prison authorities censoring what he writes. So he doesn't talk about Marx directly. Instead of Marx, he uses a phrase or expression that philosopher of the 20th century. So like that. That is how he wrote that book. So in that, he gives a concept of hegemony. Hegemony, of course, explicitly is intellectual legitimization of social domination. I repeat, intellectual legitimization of social domination. Now, it is simple. And this, of course, Gramscian hegemony concept, somebody pronounces that as hegemony. I don't know which is appropriate. I say it as hegemony. Gramscian hegemony concept has its roots in the ideology concept of none other than Sir Francis Bacon, and also Machiavelli to some extent, and to Marx himself, and also to Lenin. Essentially, that is a system of ideas projected in the society. Bacon makes it simple for us to comprehend. Now, Bacon talks about 4 kinds of ideals based on which there can be a theory of ideology. He doesn't give a theory of ideology per se, but he speaks about 4 kinds of ideals. Ideals of the cave, ideals of the tribe, ideals of the marketplace, and ideals of the theatre. Now let's see them, understand them. Ideals of the cave is a kind of thought system which influences you from your home, however large or small it may be. It depends on the context. It's ideals of the cave. Then ideals of the tribe, I suppose, is your community sets of ideas which are supposed to control you and influence you and also lead, guide, etc. Then ideals of the marketplace. Now the same concept of marketplace is what later Habermas speaks of as public sphere, the public place. And there are a lot of thought system precipitating in the public place, which is actually interactive sphere. Man to man, of different multiple kinds of people they interact. So there is a kind of thought system precipitating. The other side is of the marketplace. Then the 4th one is very interesting. He says ideals of the theatre. The theatre here would mean thought system projected to people of the society through the means of communication. Theatre, of course, means a communication. These days, of course, it may be media, whatever it is, or films, or plays, or poetries, or literature, whatever. So, here in Bacon, we see the 4 types of ideals. And my purpose is to say that they are a synthetically created system of ideas and projected them into society, which is supposed to influence the people. And the influence of people, when it comes to Machiavelli, it becomes very, very explicit. Machiavelli's book, Prince and the Other Writings, he says that New Organon and Prince and Other, these are the books I suppose, forgetting the names. He says that a prince need not have any qualities which is supposed to possess. And Machiavelli says that if he is a prince, he knows how best to deceive people into believing that the prince has such and such properties, qualities, greatness, whatever it is. So here the deception becomes explicit in Machiavellian words. A person is supposed to has these qualities and abilities and greatness and whatever positive connotations one can think of attributing. He has these properties. Now, how this idea goes into the people's mind? They are deceived into thinking that he has these properties. That is one thing. Second thing, whatever is done by this great man shall be equally great. So they intellectually deceive the people into thinking that whatever is done by this great man is correct, or whatever is done by the people, the authority in general, is apt, correct, suitable, and that's the only thing to be done. Now, this kind of intellectual deception is socially legitimized. So that is a concept of hegemony when it comes to Gramsci. And the people in Kerala, I heard them, I came across them using the concept of Brahmanical hegemony. And in context of Kerala, Brahmins are generally Nambudhiris and varieties of Nambudhiris. There are many kinds of Nambudhiris. They are all Nambudhiris, but different titles. Nonetheless, they are Nambudhiris, including our one of the great Swamiji, Agamananda. He is also Nambudhiri, but his title is supposed to be Nambiadhiri. It's all the same. So, and people may view some difference as the difference between Musad and Raleigh. This, of course, is not very serious. So, they speak of Brahmanical hegemony, where Brahmins are projected as the most detestable villains, as if they had been destroying and doing all bad things. And this kind of ideas pushed into people's mind. And these kind of ideas are separatist thoughts. And they are unrealistic, they're untrue. There's nothing like that, and it has been projected. Look at Tamil Nadu again. They have a political existence on the basis of the Brahmin hatred extended into Hindu hatred. Brahmin hatred is immediately translated as the Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition's hatred towards Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition, and a dislike towards anything Hindu. But there is an irony and a contradiction in Tamil Nadu. The general people in Tamil Nadu are very culturally oriented people. They are very cultural. They are very disciplined otherwise. Common people. They are very disciplined otherwise, and they are very much involved in the Hindu Dharma in their own manner. You don't find people without having that ash like pasma in Sanskrit on their forehead much. They do keep going to temples, and they do all kinds of rituals, and they're very much into the Hindu faith, very much into Hindu faith in their own manner. See, they essentially for most South Indians, one can say that the principal deity is Shiva, and in Tamil Nadu, the Shiva's son becomes Shiva is principal deity. No doubt, they're all Shaivites, and the focus goes more to the son of Shiva, Kartikeya. They pray. So this kind of deep-rooted connectedness to Hindu Dharma is very much powerful with the Tamil society. Typically, like in Bengal society, the Bengali Hindus are very cultural people. They're very deeply connected to the Hindu Dharma. You hardly find a Bengali house where at least these three photos are not there. One is Kabiguru, Ravi Thakur. They pronounce Rabindranath Tagore as Ravi Thakur. Tagore in English, and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and also Swami Vivekananda. They should have also had the photo of Sri Aurobindo. Many people do have. But at least these three photos you find in every Bengali house. They are also supporters of Marxism once upon a time, though not today. So they are very seriously cultural Hindus. The Bengalis are very seriously cultural Hindus. Typically, the Tamilians are also very seriously cultural Hindus. So the Dravidian movement of anti-Hinduism can work there because first of all, the governments in the Tamil Nadu in the beginning, they did not support teaching of Hindi. They did not subscribe to the three language formula. See, in the south they had three language formula: mother tongue, whatever it is, then national language, Rashtrabhasha, Hindi, and also English. They did not subscribe to the three language formula. They did not teach the Rashtrabhasha Hindi. So as a result, the majority Tamilians don't speak Hindi, and they find it difficult to learn Hindi after a age. Whereas in Kerala, they already accepted the three language formula, though they speak bad Hindi, maybe not very good Hindi, but they're initiated into learning of Rashtrabhasha. That is there. So with all these things, the very powerful Sanskriti of Bharat, because of the inescapable Sanskriti of Bharat, because of the authority and the strength of the Sanskriti of Bharat, the Tamilians in general could not fall for a separatistic thought of the Dravidian movement. There were a lot of leaders who tried and tried to do it, but did not very effectively work. Politically, they have gained. They kept the state under the rule of the Dravidian party movement, etc. But otherwise, culturally or in front of Sanskriti, they belong to the nation as any other people might belong. And in Kerala, the communism essentially is a separatist movement who would not subscribe to nationalism, because their first step is towards internationalism. They still want to believe. I don't know if whether they themselves don't believe. Most likely they themselves maybe not believing. They still want to believe that an international is possible, an international citizenship is possible. They had been singing communist international songs, and they had been conducting communist internationals in early stage, first or second. I don't know how many how many internationals could take place, but they still believe in this kind of things. So that separatism really went into the went in deeply in the society, and there also anti-Brahminism. Here also anti-Brahminism. So the anti-Brahminism became a fashion for many people in these places, but you don't find such anti-Brahminism in other parts of Bharat. And in many other parts of Bharat, the Brahmins are very, very strong. And of course, in Kerala, the Brahmins are very mild, and they're very, very soft people. In Tamil Nadu, they are not so mild. At least the Iyengars are not that mild. No, they will stand their ground. They will stand their ground. So this is a serious separatism, anti-Brahminism, which had taken root in at least some part of our nation, which directly goes against the Vedopanishadic Epistemology of coexistence of the multiple and plural. We have to speak for the coexistence of multiple and the plural, which is our Sanskriti, and in that people create all kinds of separatism, and this anti-Brahmin narrative is very destructive to the coexistence of the nation, because along with Brahmin, they identify the entire texts, they identify the entire Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition. They will say it's all written by Brahmins. Who says it's written by Brahmins? They are wrong. And our great Rishikas and Rishis, I don't think none of them were Brahmins. I don't think any of them were Brahmins per se. Maybe Vishwamitra is an exception. Otherwise, you look at the great minds. I don't think many of them were Brahmins. Vishwamitra, of course, was a Brahmin, but then he turns himself into Rajarshi. He becomes Kshatriya. And then again, of course, he becomes a Maharshi, Sannyasi. And the Sannyasi doesn't have a caste. Sannyasi doesn't have Varna. He goes beyond Varna. So, otherwise, you look at Vedavyasa, or look at any of these people. No, hardly you find somebody as Brahmins. So, this anti-Brahminism, which is used to be very powerful, and it is quite powerful in some parts of the nation, is one of the serious separatist thinking endeavor, which should be stopped, which should be arrested, or which should be countered. And the Brahmins themselves will never counter it. They will not go to counter it. They'll just keep quiet normally. They don't really care about it. I think so. They don't really care about it. But this is kind of separatism. Similarly, there are other separatisms indirectly coming. One is, feminism may appear to be very innocent, but feminism can be repugnantly separatist, creating a separation between male, female, and then in the long run can go against the Vedopanishadic epistemology of coexistence. Then there is a strong movement supported by the separatist Islamists. That's the Dalit movement. They want the Hindu society to be divided into caste. Look at Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati. He is the first one who was talking about the spurious nature of caste. It doesn't really exist. Varna, of course, is a different thing. That's on the basis of quality. But caste should not be really taken as serious, except maybe for reservations when people can get it. That's practical. So there are forces from without and also from within to some extent, who would want the unity of Hindu society somehow off balanced, somehow disturbed. So they will put in all these kinds of differences between castes and differences between languages and differences between whatever they can find, including Dalit literature as separate and non-Dalit. Non-Dalit means what? They put everybody else as everyone other than Dalits. All these attitudes, any separatist attitude cannot be welcome and should be treated as unwanted in the society of Bharat, because we are existing on the basis of the Vedopanishadic knowledge tradition, and that is the basis of a Sanskriti which teaches us the coexistence, the epistemology of coexistence of the multiple and the plural. So, all this and the anti-Brahminism may have many other ingredients in it, and I won't be able to go into all the subtle, phenomenal aspects of the ingredients in anti-Brahminism. To some extent, it may be, a kind of, I am not able to be like them, etc. Maybe such feelings. Anyway, so that is something which, of course, is not present all over. It's present in some areas, and these differences are created willfully these days and maintained with an objective of destroying the coexistence of the very nation itself. So let's be careful about it. Let's be clear about it. Let's not subscribe to these things which might be emotionally appealing, but then let us give time to think about it. So that's it. Thank you very much, and we shall meet again with some other reflections and thoughts. Namaste, Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.